there. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know I don't have an accent. It gets worse every video. Yeah, so I did my hair like this because I thought it would make me look a little more put together, but now I just look like Anna Kendrick in the first Twilight movie, so we're gonna remove this. Oh, fuck. Now I look like Cousin It. Okay, back to topic. Let's get serious. So today we're gonna talk about the little girl on the airplane singing over the intercom. I'll put it right here.
No matter how hard I try, every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know where I cannot go, where I long to be. See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me.
So, in case you did not know, on an airplane, when somebody talks over an intercom, it interrupts everybody's videos, movies, or whatever that's on the, seat in front of them if they're watching a movie. So everyone on the plane had to listen to this 12-year-old presumably sing. Now, she didn't have a bad voice. I think people are more angry at the parents for letting her do this, and I had a field day looking at all the different point of views that people posted being on that airplane. But the reason I find this topic so intriguing is I live in Florida, and that airplane was to Orlando, so there probably was a few Disney adults on that airplane, and I have an experience like that when I was on a train. I went to New York, and then coming home down to, passing through Orlando, there was a whole section filled with Disney adults, and they had 12 kids, and they were jumping on everything. They were running up and down the hallway. There was a little girl who fell asleep on my mom's lap, and my mom turned to the parent like, hey, get her off me, and the mom's like, oh, it's okay if she sleeps there. Mom's like, I don't want her to sleep here though. So yeah, no, I have experience with the frustration, and on my train in particular, it was a 24-hour drive with an extra 5 hours that we were stopped. So not a fun time, and they got off at the same stop as us, so we were stuck with them the entire time. Anyways, I do think that a flight attendant should have intervened and been like, okay, very nice, honey, let's go. I think the little girl was kind of expecting a flash mob type reaction. I don't know if you've seen the video of the little girl singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
In the sky, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Yeah! With somebody, yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me.
And then everybody on the plane joins in, but that's what I think she was probably going for. But the plane was dead silent. I feel like at age 12, again, allegedly she's 12, I feel like if you hear the whole plane is silent like that, you'd be like, oh, they're not really digging it. You know what I mean? She might be 7 years old. She just might be very big for her age. Who knows? You know, but like even on my train, after those kids were running around, there was a guy who came in his underwear and he was doing backflips down the aisle. And another guy came in with a cowboy hat and guitar and started playing the guitar. And everybody was on board for that. I don't know why, but it's just funny what people is like, well, I'd rather see the guy in the underwear running down the aisle than listening to a small child sing on the intercom. But I think, you know, because I was reading through some of the comments, and a lot of people did mention Disney adults, and I think that is the frustration, because if you're not a Disney adult and you're like, you know, you're going to Orlando for a business trip, the last thing you want to do is sit through Disney music while you're stuck for 2 hours not moving. But I do have to wonder, where was the flight attendant? Because when I first saw it and explored the topic, I was kind of like, well, maybe she's related to the flight attendant or something. Like, maybe somebody encouraged her to go up there for entertainment. But still, I feel like that's kind of weird, and I don't think a flight attendant would necessarily have their kid on board. But I don't know. The whole thing is kind of funky, in my opinion. I do feel bad for the little girl, because, you know, in this time, 10 years from now, she's gonna be like, why did I let my parents let me do that? Or maybe she's gonna be like, oh, I was so cringe for doing that. Because we've all had those moments. When I was in 2nd grade, I used to ask my teacher, can I sing in front of the class? And she was like, yeah, just wait for the end of the day. And every single day at the end of class, I would sing. And the other kids liked it. Like, nobody was like, shut up, Hunter. Like, you know, like, but looking back, I'm like, wow, that was really cringe, and that was really obnoxious of me. You know, so I feel bad for this little girl that, I think the video was up to like 5 million likes, you know? And that's probably gonna follow her for the rest of her life. I think the only thing kind of helping the situation is you don't really see her face in the video, so nobody's like, oh, that's Sandra from school. Like, you know, nobody really knows who is singing, really. I mean, obviously the passengers on the plane do, and I imagine if anybody had an angle showing her face, they wouldn't post a child, hopefully. So yeah, it's hopefully in a few years from now it doesn't impact her too greatly, you know, because I mean, at the end of the day, she is a kid, she was having fun, but it was not the right place or time, you know, and especially to take up people's time by singing over an intercom when they're trying to watch their shows and such. That's also very obnoxious and rude. So yeah, I wonder if we'll get an update, you know, from the parents' point of view, or, you know, maybe somebody was egging her on, maybe it was a bet, you know, and everybody will flip on the internet tomorrow and be like, well, some kid offered her $100 to do it, and she needed that $100 for a new scooter. Like, you know, then we'd be like, okay, yeah, okay. But still, you should think about what you're doing before doing it. Anyways, with that being said, puff, puff, out.